Let us be known by our love. In every word, in every deed, honor the Son. Let our light shine in every eye. Let us be known by our love for the glory of the Father, for the glory of the Son, for the glory of the Spirit. Let us be known by our love, and let us be known by our joy. In every home, in every heart, sing to the Lord. Let our life show goodness and hope. Let us be known by our joy, for the glory of the Father, for the glory of the Son, for the glory of the Spirit. Let us be known by our joy, and let us be known by our peace. In every town, in every tribe, Jesus is King. And let us go forth, heal and restore. Let us be known by our peace, for the glory of the Father, for the glory of the Son, for the glory of the Spirit. Let us be known by our peace, for the glory of the Father, for the glory of the Son, for the glory of the Spirit. Let us be known by our love. Let us be
Welcome to today's devotion. I'm Barb Stansfield. You've seen me here before, and I'm glad to be with you again today to share with you today's devotion, which is a little bit unusual compared to many of our devotions. Our devotion for this day actually concerns someone who is a real historical character, but we don't really know a lot about him on the basis of the Bible because he was not really mentioned or is not in the Bible that I know of, but he is somebody that is a saint, and his name is Saint Valentine's. So I guess you can see the connection that there might be with him, and the fact that I am going to put out here for us for you to see a Valentine, because I want to see how the connections between Saint Valentine and what we call Valentine's Day. So in this particular devotion, we find out that he was a character associated as a saint in the early history of the church. And Saint Valentine, maybe you have heard of him, maybe you didn't. Perhaps it depends on what church you belong to. I know the Catholics and certain other denominations do talk more about Saint Valentine or do honor him, where other denominations or church groups do not. But to get information about him, I went to my computer and found a lot of information about him in something called Wikipedia. And just for your own information, anytime you want to get information about things in the Bible or historical things and so on, you can get a lot of good information off of your computer, and many times I've found I can get good information off of an organization called Wikipedia. Anyway, let's go on with today's lesson. He was born in 225, so in other words, in the 3rd century, and Saint Valentine was a clergyman. Some refer to him as a priest, others refer to him as a bishop in the Roman Empire, and he ministered to persecuted Christians. He was eventually martyred and his body buried on February 14th, 273 in Rome. This date has been chosen as the feast day for Saint Valentine's by the Catholic Church, and in the 8th century, the feast day of Saint Valentine's, since the 8th century, I should say. Relics of him have been kept in various places in the church in Rome and in the catacombs. And the catacombs are an interesting place. I had the opportunity of, I was in Rome once, and when I was there, I was able to visit the catacombs. And the catacombs are graves that are underneath the city. You go down under the city, and there are passageways through the graves down there. That's called the catacombs. Anyway, his opportunity to be seen in other places would be to go to places where there are relics, not only in Rome, but there are relics for him in the, as I mentioned, the catacombs and the church in Rome, and also in Ireland. To this day, he is commemorated in the Anglican and Lutheran churches on February 14th, and on the Eastern Orthodox Church on July 6th. In 1969, the Catholic Church removed him from the Roman calendar, the general Roman calendar. Now, I guess I'll have to put this up again. But they continue to recognize him as a saint and identify the date of February 14th as the day to recognize him. According to the official biography of the Diocese of Turin, where he was from, Turin, Italy, he was born there, and then he lived in another area called Interamna. I'm not sure where these places are in Italy, but they're, of course, in Italy. At the time when he was imprisoned and tortured and martyred, he was in Rome, but he was only there temporarily. He was not usually in Rome. His disciples retrieved his body after he was martyred and returned it to his home area. The name Valentine is derived from the word valen, V-A-L-E-N, valens, and means worthy, strong, and powerful. The Catholic Church recognizes 11 other saints with the name Valentine. I guess I had wondered why that is, why there would be so many people with the name Valentine, but that's what the article said. The Catholic Church recognizes 11 people altogether with the name Valentine. There is a popular idea that Saint Valentine is a Christianized form of an ancient god, and I think we would see how this is connected, Cupid, C-U-P-I-T, Cupid, which we talk about Cupids in connection with Valentine's Day. This has likely been more of a, well, not a real proven thing, but something that people like to think or say that it came from. We hear a lot of theories about where different things come from in history. One interesting story in connection with his arrest and in prison is in part of the article I read, and I'm going to read some of that to you because this was an interesting experience that happened in Rome. While under house arrest of Judge Asturias and discussing his faith with him, Valentine, his name is actually the Latin version of it is Valentinius, and he was discussing the validity of Jesus. The judge put Valentinius to the test and brought to him the judge's adopted blind daughter. If Valentinius succeeded in restoring the girl's sight, Asturias would do whatever he asked. Valentine, praying to God that his hands on her, after praying to God, put his hands on her eyes, and the child's vision was restored. Immediately humbled, the judge asked Valentinius what he should do. Valentinius replied that all of the idols around the judge's house should be broken, and the judge should fast for 3 days and then undergo the Christian sacrament of baptism. The judge obeyed, and as a result of his fasting and prayer, freed all the Christian inmates under his authority. The judge, his family, and his 44-member household of adult members and servants were baptized. Valentinius, who was later arrested again for continuing to do evangelistic work, was sent to a prefect of Rome, to Emperor Claudius II. Himself, Claudius took a liking to him until Claudius tried to convince him that he should become a Christian. She should embrace Christianity. Claudius refused and condemned Valentinius, or Valentine, to death, commanding that Valentinius either renounce his faith or he would be beaten with clubs and beheaded. Valentinus refused and was executed at the Flamingan Gate on February 14th, 269. An embellishment to this account states that before his execution, St. Valentine wrote a note to Asturias' daughter, signing, "From your Valentine," which he said has inspired today's romantic missives of writing Valentines. Well, there is also, in connection with him, beside this story, there's another story or a legend about him, and I would like to share that legend also. Okay, there are many other legends behind St. Valentine. One is that the priest Valentine defied the order of the emperor and secretly performed Christian weddings for couples allowing the husbands involved to escape conscription into the Roman army. This legend claims that soldiers were sparse at this time, so this was a great inconvenience to the emperor. The account mentioned that in order to remind these men of their vows and God's love, St. Valentine is said to have cut out hearts from parchment, giving them to these persecuted Christians, a possible origin of the widespread use today of hearts on St. Valentine's Day. So interesting enough, there's a lot of stories about St. Valentine. Maybe you and I, at least I hadn't heard many of them before. Another thing about it is that during the Middle Ages, it was believed, this has nothing to do with specifically him, but in the Middle Age, it was believed that birds paired in mid-February. This was the association with the romance of Valentine. Although these legends differ, Valentine's Day is widely recognized, of course, as a day for romance and devotion. So that's the story about St. Valentine. As I said, he was not a character in the Bible, obviously, but he was a saint who, and what he was trying to do in his work was to bring people to Christianity and protect the Christians that were already there. And he would have probably not been killed if it was he hadn't tried to get this emperor to accept Christianity, and he refused to denounce it when the emperor wanted him to do that. So it's very important for us to realize that the lives of people who died in very, very early history for their faith died like he did, but he's still recognized as a Catholic saint, and also, as I mentioned, by different other church groups. And of course, we can see very easily why there's a connection between him, because all these things happened to him on February 14th, which is Valentine's Day. So let's close with a word of prayer. Father, I thank you for the history that we can learn from other sources, like I did about St. Valentine, and for people who are part of the churches that still honor him and recognize him. I'm sure they're familiar with this, but I was not. I just pray, Father, that we can think about how important it was in the lives of people at that time frame, clear back in the 3rd century, that this man was trying to rescue Christians, and he was trying to convert people to Christianity. And he lost his life for doing that. He was martyred for that. But we also have this strong connection because St. Valentine's Day, which is February 14th, is a strong connection for us today with love. Romantic love usually, but it also should be a time that we all think about our love for you and for one another as Christians. And that we would pray and ask you to guide us also in our evangelism and in our outreach to other people, as he had done in his day. In Jesus' name, amen. Have a good day.